you've got window screens that look like this, you can fix it. It's cheap, it's easy. I'm gonna do a very quick DIY on how you can fix holes in your window screens. It's actually very simple to rescreen your window. This is a quick tip, gonna get right to the point. I've got here some screen spline. This runs for $10 at Home Depot. I've got here some clear view screen. This is pretty much the clearest view you can get out of all of them. There's all types of categories. And then I have a window screen repair tool. This ran me $8. So right now we're looking at $30, $8, $10. These are literally all of the tools I need to do this other than a razor knife. So if you already have the razor knife, just figure this is 25 feet. I'm rescreening like 8 windows right now. So if you just need screen for one window, you might be looking at a price of $8. I'm gonna show you how easy it is. Now on every screen, there's an area where the spline stops. It's usually up in the corner here. And as you can see, I took this tool. That's the reason why it has a flathead screwdriver on the end of it. It's because you can either pull the spline out or tuck it in certain spots. Now, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna pull this spline throughout the whole, wow! I'm gonna pull the spline off of the whole screen right now, and then we're gonna get started on the new one. As you can see here, spline is out. Pull your old screen straight out. Now this wouldn't be a bad time if you want to clean up all the edging of your window screen. I'm not going to bother showing you that. Now what I'm going to be doing is grabbing my Clear Advantage window screen, which this is 48 by 25 feet. As I said earlier, I have to do a lot of screens for a job for someone actually. But what I'm doing here is I like to start this screen in the corner. You can see it's overhanging. There's going to be waste involved no matter what. I like to leave about an inch up at the top. I can deal with having an inch at the top when I'm going around and running my spline through. You do not want to be short because then you got to pull it all out and start again. So here's what I'm going to do. I like to use my outside edge. I'm going to roll this screen right over here. Get to the end here. Again, about an inch. I'm going to leave off over here. All I'm doing is cutting my excess roll of screen off here. Of course, there's sometimes always just a little piece that holds on. Now, as we are lining up this screen, I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer and show you how we get started on setting the new one. Now the spline size I am using is spline. I keep saying spline. The spline size I'm using is 140. That's recommended for these thinner screens. Honestly, most window screens recommend this 140. 125 is for more of the thicker pet resistant screens. So that's what we're using here is a 140 spline. Now, here's what your spline is going to look like. It's just really just a black rubber hose. Now I'm going to start in the corner just in the same spot they did. All I'm going to do, work it in right here. Going to grab my flat end side of my screen tool. Push this straight in. And now we are ready to start rolling. All that I'm going to be doing is getting the roller side of my screening tool and I like to guide the spline into it. I like to also this is essentially like a pizza cutter. I like to push the edge of my pizza cutter to the outside of the screen because if you press too hard towards the inside, you can rip the screen along where you're replacing it. So you don't want to rip the brand new screen that you're installing because sometimes you could rip it at the very end and it can be very frustrating. We're just going to work this in here. And it just likes, it really just starts to flow once you catch the hang of this. You don't have to press too hard. You want to take your time with this. You don't want to rip the new screen because that's why you're doing this project in the first place. Now when it comes to these middle sections here, I don't claim to be the biggest screen expert in the world. I just know that I know how to replace them and it works. I like to press down on this middle section without ripping my spline. You gotta be careful because this is a tight spot. Now I'm just gonna keep going. Now, as I'm working all the way down my edges here, One of the things about the corners that I'm going to show you, and this is really the final tip of this entire project, is that you want to turn your spline here. And then after you turn it, you're going to get your flathead. You're going to work it in right around those corners. And as you can see, I'm cutting it close with my screen up top here. It has a tendency to move. Keep your eye on that, because even I screw up on it sometimes. You'll be rolling and then you get to the top and you're like, oh my God. You just have to pull the spline out and start all over. But that's one of the better parts of it. As long as you have no rips on your outside or anything, you can start this over. So I'm just going to finish rolling this section out after I just pinned it in with my flathead section, and we'll show you the finished product. Now all I'm going to simply do, any excess that's on here, I'm going to carefully get my razor knife, start working it off these edges. And here are the results that you can get when you are rescreening your windows. Now my camera died mid-video, so I know that I started stringing these, but really all it is you're just going to be working that spline all around those edges. So one thing I will say, and I won't deny, this can be a frustrating job. Sometimes you might have to do a screen 2 or 3 times just because you're maybe not tight enough in certain areas. It is a trial and error thing, so it can be frustrating. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the easiest thing in the world, but can any homeowner do it? I think you can, and you can do it for an affordable price, especially when people are charging $50, $60 a screen to rescreen them. So I hope this video helped you learn something. I hope it saved you some money, obviously. And if you're looking for DIY homeowner tips, check out Dave Doc DIY. Thank you.